Hi, Alison. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Welcome to Business Unzipped.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. So, just to start, just tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself and your business, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely a serial entrepreneur. I started way back in the day when I was 10 creating businesses. I didn't even know what I was doing, and that really followed me through high school and college and started in leadership very, very young, which propelled me forward over the years to becoming a full-time entrepreneur. My first step was I started actually a UK based franchise called Mini Athletics, and we're the first franchise in the United States. So that was very, very exciting. We help children ages 2 to 7 find confidence through athleticism. So something that's near and dear to my heart for sure. And I also am the founder of Experts Only, which is a full service boutique consulting firm. And we really are end to end solution. And I build it that way because number one, experts in their field that are doing all these amazing things for their clients and an audience don't have the time, genuinely don't have the time to build a business that actually works for them, not against them. And so we come in with automations, anything from social automation to email automation and so many things in between. But the other reason as well is if one thing in your business isn't working, everything else isn't going to be optimized. And so we make sure that we put everything into play so that you have a business that works for you and you can continue to grow and do what you love best.
That's cool. So, what is your connection to the UK then? Because obviously you don't have an English accent. So, what
No.
is your connection to the UK?
Yeah, so my franchise Mini Athletics is founded actually in the UK. So the founder actually used to train professional soccer players, and his wife was a kindergarten teacher. So they actually started Mini Athletics. I This is how my whole life I feel like has worked out. I know someone that knows someone that asked me to do something, and it all comes together somehow. But I actually was connected with them. I was in on the hunt for a business that was exactly like Mini Athletics. Didn't really find anything that fit in the United States. And at the time, I was working for a large franchisor that had a few different wellness concepts. And they were actually looking at purchasing Mini Athletics. And so that ended up not happening. And so that CEO connected me to Kirk, who's the founder of or co-founder of Mini Athletics, and we got on probably 6 months of calls where we got to know each other, made sure it was a good fit. Franchising's like it's almost like a 10-year marriage, right? Because you have to work
Yes.
alongside each other, even separated by many many hours. You still have to, and there's a lot of that of trust and things like that that go into play there. So after all of that, I decided that it was definitely the best fit for my family and I. And we launched last year. So they actually came over from the UK to help me launch my business last February.
Wow, how exciting. And how's it been?
It, I'll be honest with you, business is hard, right? And bringing something new that, regardless of if it's a franchise or not, you still have to raise the brand equity within the area, meaning like no one knew what it was, right? But they know soccer shots and they know all these different things that are big in the United States. And so it at this point now we have 17 venues started with zero in just a little bit over a year and a half. So we have definitely the program is wonderful. And so we've definitely been able to touch the lives of so many children and then form really great bonds with the directors of preschools and things like that. Because that's typically where we go. We'll go to preschools and public venues and things like that.
Yeah. So where did experts only evolve from then?
So again, two different businesses, right? But for
Yeah.
experts only, I ran several what we call them over here medical spas, so medical practices where they do, Botox, filler, plastic surgery, things like that over the last 15 years. So I was always like CEO or COO. And I started getting asked to do consulting gigs out of nowhere. It was just like I said, someone knew someone that knew me. And I started getting all of these really big startup projects that, I mean, they paid more than my entire salary did times two. And once I started getting those projects, and then also when I was selling franchises, I was exposed to this world of entrepreneurship that I had never seen. No one in my family, I mean, most of them didn't even go to college, um, really didn't know what an entrepreneur was, didn't understand business other than, running them, obviously, in the future. But as a kid, I didn't know what any of these things were. So anyways, I got exposed through the franchise sales, and then also from the consulting gigs I was getting. And I was like, why am I going into an office every single day? Like, I don't like to be told what to do. And I call myself unemployable. I'm not employable. I'm like your best employee, but at some point, like, if I'm not able to in full do everything that I can for a business, like, it's time for me to go. So anyways, long story short, I ended up just going off on my own. And every client I've ever had has been someone that I've known or from someone. And now I'm looking, to expand and hit different markets and different demographics of different products. But from being asked to do those consulting gigs, I was just like, I need to just make this a thing. And I obviously have like a big, 5-year plan for the business and things like that. But really, I just want to help experts do what they do best and build the business that they deserve.
Yeah, and it's interesting if you have always found yourself to be quite have an entrepreneurial mindset, yet you're the first in your family. So where does that drive and that sort of change in direction come from?
So I really, it's funny. I think through my childhood was very interesting, and I used creativity as an outlet. So everyone has their outlet, right? For me, it was just creating things, and I would make these clubs up. I had a podcast before it was a podcast with my stuffed animals, things like that. And it was just what I enjoyed to do. No one showed it to me. It's just what I wanted to do with my time. I would see game shows on TV and I try to replicate them. I'd see talk shows and I try to replicate them. And so I just found it very, very interesting to be creative. But I mean, you can hear my voice, not a singer. Like, I just don't need to do that. Definitely, not a dancer, none of those things. And so I think that was just my creative outlet. But um, really, I had these just little sub talents that people wanted a piece of. And I was like, well, if people think I'm good at this, then I need to do more of that. And the funny thing is everyone talks about, like, were you scared? Were you this? I was just so freaking ready to go and leave corporate America and go off on my own. I didn't care if anybody I knew in my family had done it before. I've definitely found confidence through putting myself out there and putting myself in uncomfortable situations and raising my hand for opportunities. And I've done that my entire life. That's honestly led me to where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does take a lot of courage to go out on your own. It's scary.
Yeah. I think I've found a lot of it through sport too, to be honest with you. I mean, and even looking back to college and high school and things like that, I always wanted to be president. I always wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be captain of the teams, all of those different things. And so I think, like, constantly being in charge and getting into leadership so young, I was already running companies for years and years, for 15 plus years. So, and reporting directly either to the investor or the owner. So it was like, okay, remove that person. I can move quicker. I can make a bigger impact, and I can do things the way that I believe to be the right way. So,
Yeah, that's incredible. I want to talk for a second about sales because
yeah.
people love the idea of being an entrepreneur, but they hate sales. And I kind of
Yeah.
think the two go hand in hand. You're essentially selling yourself as well as your business. And what are your views on being sort of a salesperson?
So it's funny because my selling ability, if you will, was kind of what led me into leadership accidentally. And even in high school and things like that. I'm almost 40 now, so that was a really long time ago, but I didn't recognize that my energy towards things that I love naturally radiates into a sale, and I don't even mean for it to. I'm one of those people that I either love or I hate it. You're never going to find me in between with anything. And if I love something, I'm literally your biggest fan, and I'll preach to everyone. But as far as sales for my business, and even in several roles where I've sold businesses and all those different things, I think the word sales, I don't really know that people know how to define that and what that actually means and what the front end work is for that. And I think that 90 plus percent of the sales cycle happens before you even get on a call with somebody. And so you have to have, and this is what I do with my clients too, you have to have all of your ducks in a row before you get on that call. And unless you really screw it up, you probably already have that sale. And what I mean by that is, like, what are you putting out? Everyone talks about social media. There's been a lot of updates, and we can talk about that later with SEO and things like that for Instagram and Facebook. But, like, what are you putting out there online? How are you showing up? How are you building relationships? How are you treating the clients that you currently have? And what are people saying about you? And I think that showing up 100% prepared, ready to go, and positioning yourself as the answer before they get into a call or before they get into a business conversation is genuinely the way to go. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why I have people coming out of the woodworks, like people that I sold franchises to, or people that I worked with 5 years ago. Those people are starting to start their own businesses, and they watch me in action running businesses, and they see how I show up now online and all the different things that I'm doing. And they're like, oh, well, of course I'm going to go to her. And so you have to do that all beforehand. So there can't be gaps in, like, oh, I didn't post for a month, or, oh, I just didn't go to any networking events, or I had no automations or no sales process in place. I had no nurture sequence. And then just expect one day that you're going to have money falling from the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really interesting because actually I completely agree with you, but that can have the adverse effect because then they never are ready and they sort of hide in that safe zone of actually, let me just do a few more bits in the background before I'm ready to make that call. So, what's like a piece of advice that you would give to someone if they've done all of their social media and they've got their strategy in place to
Yeah.
actually make that call?
So, number one, do not create fake urgency. Like, literally, that's the cringiest thing that everybody does online right now. And that's why I've actually sectioned myself out. I do a lot of coaching, business coaching and mentorships and things like that. But I've really separated myself from that industry because I look at these landing pages and I'm like, you don't have 10 spots left, honey. Like, you just don't. You know what I mean? So don't create fake urgency if there's actually not urgency. What you have to do is look at, like, for example, the industry as a whole, right? So it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you do product sales, if you do business consulting, whatever the case may be. You look at the business as a whole, or client as a whole, whatever, and you say, okay, seasonally right now. Okay, so we're coming up on quarter 4, which is huge for the holidays and stuff like that. So you look at the calendar and you say, all right, so what's coming up in this business's life that can make or break their year? And you can do this with anything. You can do this with consumers as well. And you work backwards and solve for that timeline, and that naturally creates the urgency. And you just be straight with them. I mean, I did this the other day. I had a really very large client that I closed in less than 24 hours. And the conversation very much was, if you want to be good to go for your busy season, then you have to start now. And if you start now, that puts me getting done with X, Y, and Z by October, which is the beginning. So if you start any later than that, you're delaying your success by however many days, weeks, or months that you decide to do or not do this. And then it becomes like, oh, okay, that's logical. You know what I mean? Like, it logically
Yeah.
makes sense. Whereas if I was like, you know what, I'm only taking one more client this month, and if you want that spot, then come get it. They're going to be like, okay, whatever. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think we've been taught, and I've studied anyone from like Alex and Layla Hermosi, Jeremy Miner, Shelby Sa. I've literally studied like every salesperson, and I listen to almost none of it because I disagree with it. I think that a lot of things that we're told to do are unnatural, and then it comes off as inauthentic. And if you just do and move with whatever is best for your client and you logically look at the situation like it is, they're going to trust you so much more for being realistic. And if they don't need, the funny thing is I've even been like, I mean, you can start the next 2 months and you'll be good to go, but just let me know what you want to do. And I leave it open ended and they still end up coming back because I was the person that was willing to walk away and I didn't push them. So
Yeah. Yeah, authenticity. And do you think that's become almost your sort of brand, that honesty?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I get asked to speak about that a lot, and I think that's why I struggled. And when I say struggled, like I won tons of awards and I was always number one. I've never missed a sales goal, but like I struggled internally in situations where I was told to do things that I didn't believe in, and a lot of times that resulted in me leaving because I was like, I can't do this. This is not right. This doesn't make any sense. And I think that, again, like having the best intentions for yourself and for whoever your consumer or client is always going to win. And that honestly comes from being an expert, being honest, and having the strength to tell someone that maybe it's not a good fit or it doesn't matter when they sign up for it. And when you do that, I think people are like, okay, well, she's cool. She's telling me the truth. She's not trying to BS me like everybody else on the internet right now that has a timer on their website. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And actually, that's what builds longevity. If you
Mm-hmm.
have this sort of nonsense of quick, 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 then your business might be a one time only. You're not going to get those regular clients. Whereas if you're honest and open and you're happy to wait and they're happy to wait, then actually the longer game, it means that your brand is more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can keep, I mean, I actually, unpopular opinion, I actually don't really believe in a follow-up process too much. I believe in nurturing, educating, and providing value over like, hey, just following up, hey, just checking in. Hey, if you don't do this, then you don't get this. I don't believe in that. And really, that's how I run. And I have anything from construction companies to medical spas to doctors to coaches to chefs. I have all different types of clients, and no one has a follow up process like that. I think it's if someone has questions, they're going to ask you what the questions are. You don't need to ask people if they have questions. It almost like, especially for me, like if I'm not ready to make a decision, I'm not going to make the decision. If you tell me, do you have questions? I'm not going to come up with a random question to ask you. If someone has a question, they're
Yeah,
going to ask you, right?
that's really
So,
interesting. So, what is your sort of nurturing process?
so for me, I mean, my process for, do you mean for consulting or just for my clients or overall?
Yeah, so if you don't do a follow-up, say it's been a couple of weeks, because sometimes it is just that people are so busy and they do mean to, and actually that prompt can sometimes help, um, but it does need to be genuine. So how would you approach that?
So I think number one, I know everyone's like post, blah, 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 whatever, but I am on every platform posting pretty frequently. And I believe also if you're connecting with whoever your client is, if they're following you already, and you're posting something and you're showing up, that is a reminder enough. I really believe that. So that's number one. Staying in front of people is definitely important on all platforms because we all decide to consume differently.
Yeah,
For me, I have pretty much everything automated, and once someone's in our system, they'll get on a nurture sequence that's educational. It's not. It's like tip one, tip, and I'm just being very generic right now, but tip one, tip two.
yeah,
Hey, did you ever think about this? And what it's doing is it's really subconsciously and from a psychological standpoint, putting them in the mindset of like, okay, I need to do this. And that's really what I do with, again, all of my clients. So if you're giving people reasons to buy in a nurture sequence that's not direct, it's still getting the message across. It's just getting it across in a very tasteful way that appears to be educational. And if you start looking at a lot of people that you follow, that you continue to follow, or that you've bought from, a lot of it is because of what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, like we get on a call. I'm like, what's up? What do you want to do with your business? I've obviously researched the business. I come to a call and I literally tell you on the call what I would do to your business.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's like, and I even tell them, I'm like, if you don't want to do this, I'm going to send you the recorded call. You can do it yourself. And I'm not going to waste it. I don't waste my time. I don't waste anyone else's time. At least you can take what I said and do something with it. I say that on every single call. And after that, I send them a proposal and I'm like, if this is something you want to do, let me know. I'll send you the link to purchase. And a lot of times there'll be like a few questions. We'll get on a call and I'm like, here's the link, sign up, have a great day. That's kind of how it works.
Awesome. Refreshing. I like it.
It's simple, right? Like it sounds,
Mm.
it's just like you have, it can be so simple. Like nothing has to be as hard as people make it. And that doesn't mean that I don't, send emails and texts and stuff like that, right? Like I definitely do that. I just do it in a different way. And I mean, my close rate's probably like 95%. The sales I've lost, it just was not within, based on their revenue for their company, they couldn't afford it. And so that's what I'm working on now is something that's affordable for businesses that are either like just starting out and or businesses that just truly can't afford a big consulting firm. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. And it also demonstrates generosity as well. If you're not necessarily prodding them as if to say, hey, buy my services, you're actually saying, I'm still here if you need me, and here's some free advice while I'm at it. So it's yeah, very clever.
yeah, I mean, we do that with like something that I think is great too is like for a lot of my, and this can be, by the way, when I say this, everything applies to every business. I don't care what you do because I have all types of businesses right now that I consult for, and we always start with giving first. We don't start with a big sale. So my give as a high ticket, I mean, my main business is high ticket, right? So I start by giving them literally what I would do, my free advice that I charge $500 an hour for. They get to take that. So I've given to them first. And then the give back is obviously, paying and hiring me, right? Which is great. But in other instances, you can give like a free guide, a free mini course, a free anything first in exchange for information to then nurture them. And that's what I mean when I say automations. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to buy immediately. I'd say 20% of people are immediate buyers, 80% aren't. So the majority of businesses are losing 80% of their business by just not having anything in place. Like it's such a
Yeah,
huge piece.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And give some advice for those who are just starting out, because I think sometimes it's a snowball effect, isn't it? Once you've got one sort of going, then it's easier to get the next one. But the first one is always the hardest. And often it's finding the right people to talk to. So you mentioned networking and going to
Mhm.
different events, but how do you sort of figure out the right people to go to within an organization?
So I work predominantly, like I don't prefer to work with any sort of like corporate type companies. I prefer medium and below. I don't think I would even be willing to take a large account. I've done that before and I actually hated it. I really, really, really did not enjoy it. I felt like I couldn't work fast enough. But as far as if you are trying to figure out within a business who's in charge, it's always the business owner. They're always the people that are making the end decision, regardless of the situation. I don't care what company it is. And coming from someone who you would think was the main decision maker in a lot of situations, I still would advise the business owner and have to talk them into it, right? But a lot of times it would be them coming to me about it. So I think that first, really I mean, you can use LinkedIn, there's so many different tools that you can figure out who's in charge of, what. But I think making that genuine connection and making that genuine introduction, like I'll voice message people all the time that are business owners, and I'll be like, hey, I saw you posted. This is actually an example. It was a makeup artist. I messaged her and I was like, hey, you posted something about no one's watching your course on Instagram. Of course they're not. Like, first of all, you're giving so much, like you already give so much free information. You recorded a course and then said, hey, watch it on Instagram. That's like not even what you should be doing. Like, people would pay for this. You need to take it off and blah, blah. Sent her a whole big voice message about it. And I told her exactly what I needed to do, what she needed to do. And she was like, holy crap, like, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And I think like always giving first is the best way. So like, let's say you want to pitch uh, a franchisor, and you find obviously who's in charge of that, who the owners are, connect with them on LinkedIn, engage with them, follow them, and then give them direct advice. Hey, I looked at your website. Hey, I looked at this, and I had this experience that I wanted to share with you. Do you have a couple of minutes to talk? And then they can hear from you. And that's obviously from a consulting side, but on even a consumer or product side, it can be, hey, like I saw that you wore this like beautiful dress and I have this shade of lipstick that would look amazing on you. Like, do you mind if I tell you more about it or whatever? We're shown so many things online. And when you take a second to like personalize whatever you're doing, it means so much more to that person. And also, you're helping them make a decision in a very crowded market. You're basically saying, like, I have something that you need, and they now don't have to look for it.
Yeah.
That's how I like to go about things for sure.
And is your preference social media? Because obviously you've got such a far greater reach, and especially if you do sort of international business. So is social media your preference in terms of making those connections, or do you still value in-person networking?
Yeah, I do. I mean, depending on what business, like absolutely. I mean, for mini athletics, we make those connections directly. I mean, we have to go to the directors for the schools, and a lot of times that is like dropping things off, uh, bringing them something, setting up meetings and things like that. So I also spent a lot of time doing networking. I mean, I was at like every single networking event for a while. And honestly, the second that I started just coming out and sharing my opinion on business, I started getting asked to do a lot of like speaking gigs. And I have like several that are coming up later this year. And it really was from like someone hearing me talk or, using my voice. And then they're like, oh, I want more of that. But if you're not sharing anything, you're not meeting people, and you're not putting yourself out there, I don't really know. I mean, I have done that before and I got things on the low, but again, those were from relationships. And a lot of those were from people that worked with me. So they watched what I did every single day. And if you don't have that exposure, then you're going to have to find that exposure. And at the end of the day, like, no one's sitting there staring at your social media critiquing you but you. And the second I realized that, because I actually didn't post for like 10 years, like I just started posting earlier this year. I had like maybe like 400 followers this time last year, like literally. I don't have a ton, but I mean, to get to like almost 9,000 in a year is, I mean,
Incredible.
that's decent, right? So, but you have to start doing something. You can't just sit around and think that everything's going to come to you. And I'm a huge manifester and I believe in all those different things, but like, you can't just think that money's going to fall from the sky to you from taking no action. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You've got to work for it.
Yeah.
So how
And
do
it's
you,
hard.
yeah, it is super hard. And how do you split your time? So you have multiple businesses, which is very smart. We should never just rely on one source of income. How do you split your time effectively?
So everyone asks me this question. I should have
Do
like my
they?
answer right now, but I work a lot. I really do. I absolutely love what I do. And so I find myself not being able to stop more than anything, to be honest with you. Like I literally love what I do. For mini athletics, I have someone that I trust that does a really, really great job of doing boots on the ground. I don't have the time to do that because I'm also running my business, that business, and then a business for several other people, right? Because of the type of service I offer. And honestly, this is going to be, you're going to be like, what the heck? The second that I stopped trying to time block and plan out my day and spend like 5 hours, like making sure every hour made sense, like we're all told to do, I swear I can just get a astronomical amount of things done. So I make time and I find like what makes sense for that day. Like we all know what we have to get done in a day, and then the rest should be really spent doing creative things. So, I mean, I have 2 kids and a husband, and I never miss a workout, and I go to the sauna every day and all that kind of stuff. But what I do is, like, for example, if I'm at my daughter's volleyball practice, I'm not scrolling through my phone. Like, I'm not doing that. I've brought my laptop. I have my little hotspot hooked up, and I'm working for those 2 hours while I'm watching every other parent literally sit in their car scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
So I'd say like those little moments where like you are losing time, you're probably just not realizing it. Like I always come prepared with like a pair of tennis shoes if I want to walk and my laptop wherever I'm going. I don't have some crazy wake up in the 5 o'clock in the morning type routine. I don't think you need any of that. I think you just need to know what you need to get done and do it very, very effectively. But I also have gotten really, really good at using AI and putting things on autopilot. And I have a great team that works with me too. So it's not the obviously long-winded answer there, but it's not one thing that makes you have more time. It's just like, what are you doing with it? What do you enjoy doing? What do you want, like you crave more of, and really everything else as much as possible you should try to outsource or hire someone to set up your systems. Even if it's not me, hire somebody else to set up all of your systems so you're not sitting there constantly answering direct messages and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that can make your processes more efficient, and then that frees up your time for being creative, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, when I spend more time creating, talking, doing, I feel in such a better headspace. And it really seems like those are the times that everything just comes together. Like, I hate doing graphic design. I love directing it. And so I direct it now. You know what I mean? There's just certain things that like I really don't like to do. And by all means, like I will pay someone else to do those things. And when you have, especially if you're a service-based business, your profit margins should be like 80%, really, if you think about it, because who are you really paying? Like there's no consumables or anything like that. Um, I think a lot of times too, you have to take a second to feel behind so that you can get ahead. So what does that mean? Like making sure that your processes and your life is very, very organized, and you've set up the sequences and you've set up the automations, and little things can save a long time, but it takes time to put those in place so that
Yeah.
they can work for you in the future. But people get caught in that like just deadly hamster race or rat race, whatever you want to call it. I had hamsters, so I had to say hamster race. Hamster wheel, that's what I was trying to say. And no one actually takes the time to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to get my life together. I'm going to organize my Canva. I'm going to organize my Google Drive. People just don't take the time to do that. Another thing I do too, and this is the last thing I'll say, is I really literally avoid email at all costs. I do not mess with email. Like I manage all of my clients on Slack, my team on Slack. I literally would rather die than use email. To an extent, you do have to do some of that for outreach. So that would be the only real thing. I mean, that's how you and I communicated. But for my clients and all that kind of stuff, no, I do not do that. So
How come?
I think, well, 2 reasons. Number one, there's a few very high level like billionaires that say they don't use email. And I completely agree. I've always hated email, actually. I just thought that I had to use it. But the other thing is the amount of times, like if you think back at anyone that's listening to this, think back at your life, the amount of times that someone's been like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that email. And then you're digging through your
Yeah.
email, trying to find where it is, even if you have tabs on the side, it doesn't matter. And then on the other side, it's like when you send something and someone didn't get it, you're just sending follow-ups over and over and over to try to get that information, and then you still have to do something with it. So if you
Yeah.
think about it, like there's actually nothing productive about sending things back and forth, because so many documents, communication, things get really lost in translation. And that's one of the reasons that I don't do that. And I also don't do meetings unless they're working meetings, like with my team. If they know what to do and I know what to do, we don't need to sit here and talk about it for 20 minutes. It's like like I use Loom a lot too to record like exactly what I want, especially with like graphic design and websites that I do and logos and things like that. So instead of like sending a big long email with a bunch of words, I'll just send a quick video and I'm like, hey, this is what I want. This is why I want it, so on and so forth. So there's just like a lot of tools out there nowadays that are much more effective than sending like an email with a PDF that is getting lost in someone's inbox anyway. I think it can be really effective for like sales, but for management of like clients and things like that, absolutely not. Like only for automations for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That makes perfect sense when you say it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've been through it. That's why. Like you
I
probably
despise email, especially the new Outlook. The search function just hates everybody. Just
it
they hide
never
stuff.
you can never find anything in your freaking email. It doesn't matter how good your subject lines are. Like you're just not
No,
finding it. Like stick it
no.
in a Google Drive, call it a freaking day and let it be. The information's there, and just make sure that and that's why I like Slack too. You can have conversations and all of that, but you can also connect Slack to your Google Drive, to your sheets and all different things. So everything is just under one roof and you know actually where to find it. And there's an AI functionality for it too. So
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, use it. AI is here to stay. Let's exploit it for all we can and make things more efficient.
I just don't think people know, I don't think people actually know how to use it.
No.
And I don't think a lot of people use Chat GPT correctly either. Like I use it all the time, but I am very creative, like I mentioned, and that's like where I feel my best. And so I create whatever it is first. I communicate that either visually from a voice standpoint or, I type it. And then from there, I work out whatever it is that I'm trying to do. But what we see a lot now online is like, again, so many different businesses, they're not using the right prompts, they're not thinking first, they're just asking Chat GBT to do it all for them. And so it just sounds like a big cesspool of everyone saying the same thing over and over because everyone isn't actually thinking from their brain. They're thinking from Chat GBT first. That's probably like the biggest AI mistake that I see.
Yeah, completely agree with you. So what is next for experts only?
So right now, I am very like extras only is a passion project at the end of the day. Like I love business. I would talk about it until I'm blue in the face all day long. And so I just really believe that there's a huge movement that's going to happen where there's going to be very, very few, if any, W-2 employees. So people that actually are getting a paycheck and
Yeah.
things like that. I believe that everyone at some point very soon will be a freelancer or will own their own business or work for themselves. I really, truly believe that in the next like 5 years. And so I think for me, like I want to be able to touch as many people regardless of how much money they can spend. So I have created a group that's very, very affordable where I'm teaching how to do the same thing that I do with all of my clients because I have a proprietary way to do all the things that I do. But it's just much more affordable to where it would be less than you probably spend on coffee a month. But it's more done with you. So obviously when I have more people on a call, I can teach everyone at the same time how to do it to do what I do, and we can work on different pieces of running a business through there. I'm also doing several courses, and then also mini. I'm working on like mini solutions, so like mini like websites, branding, things like that to where it's much more low ticket. If you just need like an a la carte to get going, you're able to get those resources from someone that has done it for almost 20 years versus like, people that don't know what the hell they're doing, honestly. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
That is so cool. And I always finish by asking for a piece of sort of unconventional advice to anyone that's starting up or is an entrepreneur or looking to get into that sort of role. I feel like we've had a few from you already,
Yeah,
in
that's all
terms
I'm
of,
about.
yeah. Don't bother with email, no follow-ups,
I do
don't have
have
to
one.
organize your day. Go
I
on,
got
tell
one
me.
more. Yeah, don't do anything that anyone tells you to do. I'm just kidding. I really do believe that though. I do think you should take tidbits from everybody, but form your own opinion. Don't just listen to one person because they're probably not right. Like, don't even just listen to me. You know what I mean? Like, um, I think the one thing that I see so many people doing, they think it's right, is they'll find someone that does what they do. And everyone online tells you to do this too. They're like, oh, find the top for performing viral content and just copy it. And I'm like, ugh, vomit. I can't do that. Um, if you're starting a business, do not look at every single person that's doing what you want to do. Like, and I know that sounds like, what? That doesn't make any sense. What you need to do is map out everything on your own, like what you want the business to look like, what would make you feel good, what you think your customers deserve, whatever the case may be, and then actually look outside of your industry at other businesses and take things from those businesses. So like, for example, if when I used to run med spas, I would never I would actually get so annoyed when people would come to me and be like, oh, look at what this other med spa is doing. I'm like, I don't care what they're doing. I'm going to do whatever I think we need to do. And I want to be thinking in the future, not in the past at what everyone's already done. Like, that's just not me. And we're taught to copy and get on trends and things like that. But I actually think what works is when you take what you believe to be true and then take from other industries things that have not been applied to your industry and let them inspire you to create and then become a blue ocean or a trailblazer within your industry. So that's like a big thing I've always done and I always recommend that. And that's why you see, for example, like you see the coaching industry, they'll do like a free guide to get an email. Well, I have a dock builder and a construction company that we do the same thing for. That is not anything that that industry is doing whatsoever. So we're actually ahead of the times because we've implemented something that no one else in the industry has done.
Yeah, love it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all of the advice. You've been
Of
very
course.
generous with opening up to your secrets to success. So thank you.
Of course. Hopefully someone finds something helpful and they're able, obviously, to go off on their own or grow their business. And that's honestly, I love it so much. I want everybody to be successful, even if it was, one of my competitors. You know what I mean? So,
Totally agree. Thank you so much for your time.
of course. Thank you. I appreciate it.